Hi there, everyone. How are you? This is Antonia, and this um, PowerPoint video is about the new worker in the child welfare leadership position. And I'm just giving you insight tips. Okay, so there was a position that I had for a year and a half, and that was the Applications Unit Supervisor, SUP 1, as they would call it. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. All right, let's go into next here. So here's our introduction, the Application Supervisor 1, Insight into the Position. Okay, this is what we're going to be talking about. All right, so in this particular department, the application unit, well, actually, within all of child welfare, we're always going to have our primary focus of the safety, the needs of the children and the family. We're going to be looking at strengths and weaknesses and permanency. That's everything that is comprised in child welfare anyway. But as we move along here, I'm going to give you insight into what this position is all about. Okay. So in the applications unit, that's not a unit that goes out into a field. Okay, so I just want to make sure, I want to clarify that the applications unit does not go into like the field. You're not doing the investigation. You're not the family services unit. Okay, this is a unit that receives cases reported, okay, from the central registration, the 800 number that people call to report a case, Central Registry. Okay, so this is the unit that receives those calls, those particular cases. That's where all that comes from. Okay. All right. So in part one, let's see what we have here. I wrote, read reported cases coming in from the Central Registry, assignment to the unit workers to work on clearances, assignment to investigate units to the, assignment to the investigative units in the agency, and if it's less than 30 days with that specific unit, like if when they do the clearances, if they find that that particular case has been with a unit, if it's less than 30 days, that case will go to that unit. Okay. And then there's specific topic cases like sex abuse, human trafficking, and education issues will go to those particular units. We have those particular designated units in an agency, well, at least in New York State. I could speak for that because I worked in New York State. So, yeah, so we had those special units. So, see, now you're starting to get the idea by looking at this. Like, if you were interested in this position, this is what happens in this area. Okay, you're receiving the calls, the cases come in, um, the supervisor is overlooking all these cases and reading and trying to figure out where he or she is going to disperse these cases to what units. Okay, so this is how it all begins. Okay, so there's also incoming people to the agency that need help. So the application unit supervisor or any of the unit workers can take the report and then, we can get it assigned to the appropriate unit. So the agency, it does take in, the agency takes in the walk-ins, So there are such cases like that. I remember a few myself that I wrote up, and so there's going to be walk-in situations as well in this particular unit. Okay, so let's see, part 3. What else happens in this unit? Okay, so accepting cases from outside borough. Sometimes visit requests come through this unit due to children visiting families in other states. And basically that's called a courtesy request visit. Okay, so there's 2 things that could happen here. We could be getting a call from another county, another borough, but it has to be about, like, I worked in New York, okay? So if it was all about New York, then that's a possibility of us accepting a case, because it has to be in this county. If the child moved here with the family or whatever, and they have to transfer a case, there are those kind of possibilities. And then that other scenario is that maybe another state, it could be California, Florida, Texas, we don't know where, could be asking for the courtesy visit because maybe the children in that particular case, let's say they lived in Montana, and they live in Montana, and they want to visit grandma who lives in New York. Okay, now we get the call through the applications unit to set up a courtesy visit. Okay, so that's another kind of a duty that comes through this particular department. Okay. What else do we have here? We have sometimes the cases go to the wrong county. We get those kind of phone calls. Application unit gets these calls, but it must be from a county within the state for the unit to accept the case. That's what we just talked about, right? Application receives calls about cases from family members of cases. In this instance, the supervisor or the worker gathers all the information like names, phone numbers, children's names, the date of birth, then tells the person on the phone. They will research to find the unit in charge, and then that unit will respond to the family member. Because the application person that answers this call is not to be sitting there at their desk and making doing the research while the person is holding on the phone for you to find this or whatever, because you don't know who this person is that you're talking to. It could be someone looking for the family and maybe wants to do some harm. We don't know. So in this instance, we take all the information. You ask for the names of the children. You want the date of births. You want to know the mother and father and any information they can give you. And then get their name and phone number, and why are they calling to find such information. And then you do your search, and then you find out who is that unit, and you pass that information to them in an email, and then that unit supervisor will reach out to those people if appropriate. Okay, so that's how that goes. All right, so let's see what we have here. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so the Soup 1, that's what I was. I did that for a year and a half. So the Supervisor 1 covers for Soup 2 when she's absent. Okay, so Soup 1 and 2 participate in support to the workers, checking on decisions made, responsibilities of the workers, and checking required positions, okay, and required practices. You want to make sure that you're working with your application units, workers, and checking all the P's and Q's, very important. You want to make sure that you're checking, there's a place in the office where those files are finished, when they gather all the information from the clearances, they put them in the file so that that particular unit knows it's ready and they can come and pick it up. You want to make sure that, that once more you get up and you check to make sure everything was done. Okay, so let's see what else we have here. We have policy, procedures, reviews, supervision meetings, communications, and performance. Okay, so goes without saying, the supervisor is going to make sure that the policies and procedures are being held in the highest regard and that the job is being done timely and accurately. Because, if we have mistakes like that in an application department, it makes for, not putting the agency in a good light. And in regard to the care of making sure that children are safe and helping families, it could be seriously cause a lot of problems, and there are instances where, if it's all traced to a worker who, did something that incorrectly, that could cause a risk or something detrimental to that child or in that family, I mean, that worker could, be suspended or written up or demoted from the position, because we just can't have that, because the applications department is kind of been noted as there's been it's been called like other names among the workers, like that's the helm of the ship kind of thing. The captain sits there. Okay, the the supervisors that take in those calls, that's like the captain of the ship of the whole agency, because that's where all the 800 number cases come in. That's the flow from Albany, the top tier, right, down into the applications department across all the boroughs. Okay, they get dispersed to all the boroughs. So it's very, very important to be up and up with your work, to make sure that we don't have any issues. Okay, so I hope that this was helpful. It gives you an insight into the applications department in case that's a position that you might want to try out for, an interview for. This is the whole thing about that. This is the whole area. This is everything about applications, what their duties are. Okay. Well, I had fun putting this together for you guys in case anybody's interested. It's a very rewarding position to be helping in that regard, to receive such cases and to actually, you know, be part of that movement that takes these cases and disperses them to units after going through it with a fine-tooth comb, so to speak, because you have to figure out, where you're going to put this case depending on, what it's all about. Okay. All right. So that's it for now. And I'll work on more videos to give you ideas about other areas that I had experience in so that, if this is for you, you have some idea. Okay. All right. So you have a good evening. It was my pleasure. Okay. Bye-bye.